All right, class. First off, as always, good day. I'm glad you're here. So today's lesson is going to be about uh, two main things. One is going to be about uh, the social contract theory, which two guys in particular, Hobbes and Locke, uh, had different opinions about. And then we're going to talk about the Enlightenment and the Great Awakening, which was another couple things that really kicked off on our country and stuff like that. Now, the thing is, we're going to be skipping over several things that I'm sure some of you guys would really want to learn about. Um, but again, because of time constraint and things like that, I kind of am going to pass it. One of those big ones that I mean, I've had some students in the past were like, "Oh my God, can we learn about this?" And so I taught it. Um, I just like plugged it in a little bit. Was like the Salem witch trials. We're not going to be talking about that at all. But if you are interested in stuff like that, um, then possibly I can make a TikTok video, about that kind of stuff. If you're interested, if you're not, then hey, it's okay. But if you are, let me know, and that way I can make a TikTok video on the Salem witch trials and or anything else that you want to learn about. Okay, because remember, this is your education. I want you to enjoy history and to basically understand where did we come from. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started with this lesson. All right, so there you go. You got your standards. Your objective today, we're going to look at the contribution of John Locke, that what he made to our country. And then we're going to look at the difference and similarity between religious groups during the Great Awakening. And that's where one of the big things is not all religious groups are the same. They may have the same similarities, things um, like the foundation, but then they kind of splinter off into different groups. Okay. And then your agenda, you got your warm up, which is coming up soon. Then you got the lecture video, the opinionated questions. You'll be doing your stations, and then your exit ticket. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. All right. So here is your warm up picture. Now, the question I want to know is after you analyze this picture, and it is a pretty simple picture, what do you think this artist is trying to say about how people would react if they knew the truth? And when I mean the truth, I mean they know the truth about everything. All right. Now, I know there's a lot of people like, oh, I know the truth. And it's like, well, do you really? Do you have proof? Do you know for sure? Things like that. Just because someone says it on TikTok or on YouTube and things like that. Is it truth? Do they really know? And some of the stuff, people rely on, it's just from somebody, oh, this person said this. Well, who is that person? What proof? What background do they have? Are they an expert in it? Things like that. Did they do research? you know but so I want to know if somebody knew the total truth about, I mean, everything. What do you think this artist is trying to say, how people would react? Okay, so pretty simple warm up. All right, so be sure you explain. Okay, and tell me why you think they would be that way. Why do you think they would have that reaction? Why would they be that way that you think they might be reacting? Okay, so pause the video, write your response, because we're moving on in three, two, one. All right, so if you remember from the last lesson, places like Jamestown, the investment towns, were made so that they could basically make money. And that's how England saw these colonies, as like a cash register. Yeah, we'll put some money into this colony. They'll send people over to do certain things, and bring back whatever. So that way they can have money. Now, some colonies were fortunate enough to land in some places where the natural resources were rich. There was coal and things like that in the ground. They could just easily dig it out. Um, Lumber, food. So they sent that stuff home. And remember, a lot of this stuff, they either really needed, or some of the stuff like they never seen before. So the people selling it in like England and France and things like that, they were marking it up like, hey, this is from America. You've never seen this. This is from the New World. So they made money. Now, colonies that made money basically got a little bit more freedom. They got more goodies and things like that, you know. Whereas colonies, some colonies landed in rocky places, so food really didn't grow that much, didn't grow that well. Some places it was just like all you had was like you could get fish, you know, you could, you know, or maybe cut down trees, you know, maybe mine some stuff, maybe if you're lucky. So they were really pushed, like, hey, yeah, hey, we paid y'all. You guys need to start making us some money. You need to find something there to make us some money, and that's where some problems came with the between the settlers and natives. Is the settlers were trying to find stuff, pushing like, hey, I need to find this. I need to look for a resource. I need to find animal skins and things like that. You know, and they invaded the territory of the Native Americans. You know, they basically try to, hey, you're in my way, type of thing. You know, so what kind of resources? Well, I already named one, but number one thing was gold. Gold was a big one. Okay, silver, tobacco, especially in the South. Remember, I told you guys that tobacco grew really well. Um, Again, lumber, animal skins, and again, foods that the rest of the world had never seen before, like corn and things like that, tomatoes. They were ready to pay top dollar for that stuff. Now, earlier I mentioned Thomas Hobbes. Um, I forgot I took him off actually because we're going to look more at John Locke because he was had more influence on our government than Thomas Hobbes. So, who was John Locke? Well, there's a picture of him right there. He was a philosopher and a physician. So, for those of you guys who don't know, a physician is basically like a doctor. And so he would be one of the people, if he was here nowadays, he'd be a doctor, but like also on social media. You know, he really thought about stuff and shared his knowledge and shared his thoughts in books and stuff like that. And he, amongst his thoughts of government, sided with the social contract theory. Now, what is a social contract theory? You're going to learn more about this in government next year with me because it's one of the most important things I feel that you should know about when it comes to government. So here's a quick little rundown about it. It basically says that we, the people, we're born free. Okay, you can do basically do whatever you want. Now the thing is, we trade in our God-given rights for security and order in society. Okay, now it's not written down. This is what was known as a non-verbal agreement with our government and with society. You know, so yeah, that's basically it. I'm actually going to be probably make a TikTok video on this, the social contract theory, and go more in depth on it. So if you want to know more about it, if you don't really get it and you need some more knowledge about it, you can go onto my TikTok and I'll be breaking that down even more, like expanding on it and what does it actually truly mean. Okay, so be prepared for that. But he also said, he stated that people were born with the right to life, liberty, and property. He said, you have the right to those. You're born with that right to those three things. Liberty, for those of you guys who know, is means freedom. Property, again, property and life. Now, he argued, unlike Hobbes, you know, that the power of the government comes from the people. So if the people don't like what the government's doing, the people can rebel. The people can just say no. You know, because what's the government going to do? You know, the government's power comes from the people, and that's what that time the king of England. That's what they were trying to tell him. Like, dude, you know, yeah, you are the king, true, but um, if you really boil it down, the people have the power. We're giving you that power, and if we don't like what you're doing, we could easily take that power back. Now, when it comes to the social contract theory and that whole thing of you trade your freedom for security, he basically says if the government violates that security, the people are justified in rebelling and taking back their rights. Again, this is something I'll be talking a little bit more about on the TikTok. I'll be breaking it down even more and explaining it more on there. Okay. Now, the Enlightenment. This was basically a belief that the people could figure out natural laws through logic and reasoning. They basically felt there was no um, problem man cannot, fix, no question that we can't answer if we just use logic and reasoning. The Enlightened supporters really looked more at scientific evidence than belief. So when someone said something like to the effect of, if you did this, it will cure this. They want to see the evidence. They wouldn't just listen to the person going, "Oh yeah, really cool. Wow, I didn't know that. Wow, I'll try that." No, they wanted to see the evidence. They want to say, "Okay, well, um, who was your test subject? When did you just try that out?" They wanted evidence. They wanted proof. Okay, so they wouldn't take people at their word. They wanted to know, who are you? You're a doctor. Where'd you go to school? Who are your test subjects? What happened to them? Are they still alive? Things like that. They wanted proof. Now, quite the opposite. The Great Awakening was a revival of the Christian spirit. Now, some people felt, hey, some people were leaning more towards science and some of that and away from God. So, you know, we need to go back to God. So the participants basically call for everyone to be born again. And that's a term still used to this day when people, as young kids, they start off in a religion and then, life happens and then all of a sudden they get older and then they have a spiritual uh, awakening. You want to use that word. And then they're like, I'm back into believing again. I lost my faith earlier in life and now I have it again. Those are called born again, whatever it may be. The majority of people are Christians, so that term born again Christian, that's where it comes from. Um, and they basically, again, want to have a connection or a unity with God. Okay. Now, this is where John Locke and the Great Awakening people really clashed because he argued, if you aren't aware, um, the in the Christian belief, that everyone is born in sin and things like that, you know. But John Locke was like, no, we're not born in sin, and yeah, baby, basically, when you're born, you're innocent. And this is where some of those enlightened people and Great Awakening people kind of clashed. Okay, because again, enlightened people want evidence. The Great Awakening people have faith. They don't need uh, necessarily proof. They just have faith in what they believe. So again, that's where these two groups kind of clash, and it kind of still goes on to this day, where some people are very religious and they don't need any. If they need some, it's very little proof or evidence for something. They have faith, especially in their religion, whereas enlightened people, people who need that scientific evidence, need that research, need proof before they believe something. Okay, so this is where it comes from. Now, the large group of Christian followers. This is where I was talking about. The Christian faith is like a tree, right? But the thing is, at this time, they started breaking off. Little groups, especially in different parts of the country, started kind of, yeah, we believe in this, but, and in this group, yeah, we believe in this, but, so they kind of splintered off. So think of it like a tree, but if you really come down to it, the foundation of it is a Christian belief. But they broke off into several groups. And three main groups that broke off were Baptist, Presbyterian, and Methodist. Now, uh, Baptist, these guys played a huge role in the South. They were became very, very popular in the South. And if I'm not mistaken, they still are one of the biggest religions in the South in the United States. Them and I believe Methodists as well. Um, they're very dominant. But if I remember right, I think I'm almost positive it's Baptist is top religion in the southern states. Now, why were they so popular? Well, the thing is that what they said, what their message was, it really resonated with two groups of people. One was poor farmers, people who were at the bottom. They're, yeah, right now at this time, people are starting to build up plantations, starting to get a lot of land and things like that. But poor farmers who were struggling, they really had a lot of faith in the uh, Baptist religion and enslaved African Americans. Believe it or not, they were Baptists as well. Why? Because the Baptists, they condemned slavery. They saw slavery as wrong, you know, and that's where uh, it's some groups started kind of like, yeah, you know what, and it's not just the African Americans, it's white people too who were saying, yeah, slavery is wrong, and it's not just in the North; it's also in the South. Again, poor farmers were like, yeah, slavery is bad, slavery is wrong. Okay, and this is something too I want you to remember, keep in the back of your head. Not every single white person in the South was a racist, had slaves, um, thought slavery was good. No, not every single one of them. And this is really, truly, in the lesson, the beginning of it. And this is going to continue as we move on. Okay, so I want you guys to remember that. And again, keep it in the back of your mind because when we get to the Civil War, you know, and everything boils down to it, yeah, you're gonna see when I tell you, hey, yeah, not everyone signed up to be in the army for the Confederates and some of that. Why? Because of this. They truly believed slavery was wrong. All right, so here's my question to you. Let me move my little video thing up. Here we go. So, do you believe people have the capability to solve any problem they may face? Do you think we as people, if we just sit down, think about it, use logic, use evidence and things like that, use science, do you think we can solve any problem? And I mean everything from, hey, personal problems, psychological problems, even problems like finding a cure for cancer, things like that, you know, ending world hunger, you know, finding a solution to the pollution and trash problem and things like that around the world. Do you think we as people have the capability to solve those problems, or are they just too big, too much of a problem, too massive that yeah, no, people can't solve it? And tell me, why do you think that way? Okay, so if you don't know how to start off the sentence, the writing prompts on the bottom. I believe people can or can't solve any problem they face because, and again, I don't mean just one person, people in general. Can we solve any problems we face? What do you think? Okay. So once you answer this question, you're done with this lesson. So hopefully you learned something new. Hopefully you enjoyed it. Um, like I said, I'll be making a TikTok video later. Okay. Um, about the social contract theory. I'll be writing it down in my little notes here. So if you want to learn more about that, go on TikTok, check it out. Okay, and then check out the other videos I made for history. Okay, so you guys, you take care, you be safe, and I'll see you guys later. Okay.